This is a student presentation using a hypothetical scenario for educational purposes. I am a student at UAMS, not a representative of the agency named in the following slides. The information contained herein does not necessarily reflect the views of said agency, and any resemblance to reality is merely coincidental. Hello everyone, my name is Heather Morgan. I am an occupational health specialist for Fictus Corp. For this presentation, we will be discussing the importance of ergonomics and how to remain safe for the long-term benefit of your health. Today, I am addressing a wide variety of employees here at the company, including lab workers, office workers, and warehouse workers, so we will be discussing a variety of ergonomic issues and how to stay safe. We want you to enjoy coming to work, be able to comfortably complete your work, and stay able to work as long as you want in order to provide for your families. To start off the presentation, I will begin with a definition of ergonomics and give a brief background on its history. Then I will be discussing the importance of ergonomics and the prevalence of ergonomic-related issues. Next, we will discuss some of the medical effects of ergonomic injuries. And following this, I will discuss various methods of ergonomic injury prevention for different types of work, such as lifting, repetitive motions, awkward positioning, and localized pressure from extended sitting, computer work, standing, or kneeling. Finally, I will provide some tips on how to identify and evaluate ergonomic problems in your workplace and how to report these to your supervisor. Here I will be emphasizing the importance of awareness to prevent ergonomic-related issues. Ergonomics is defined by R. Bridger as the study of the interaction between people and machines and the factors that affect the interaction. It has been described as fitting the job to the person instead of the person to the job, which involves designing work and tasks to fit human characteristics and energy capabilities. Ergonomics aims to improve performance and functionality, which can be done in two different ways, either by designing a better interface or by eliminating unsafe or inefficient factors in the work environment, in the work task, or in the organization of tasks. Ergonomists believe that absenteeism, injury, poor quality of work, and high levels of error are system problems rather than worker problems. Solutions, therefore, would lie in proper management and designing a better work system. Workplace injuries are very common, and recent studies have shown a majority of these injuries are due to ergonomic-related issues. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2018, there were over 900,000 cases from work-related injuries that resulted in time off from work. 30% of these cases were musculoskeletal-related disorders. The median days away from work was 12 days among these cases in 2018. As shown in the chart on the right from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the number of cases of work-related musculoskeletal disorders has declined from 2011 to 2018. However, there is still a lot of room for improvement, and the number of cases still presents a large burden to workplaces and society due to lost productivity, reduced performance, lost time claims, turnover, loss of morale, and medical costs. In 1997 and 98, OSHA performed practical ergonomic interventions at various places of work, which resulted in a 75% reduction in work-related injuries. The interventions also decreased the average time off work due to injury by over 85%. Another important argument for ergonomics is the high cost associated with injuries and the cost-effectiveness of ergonomic solutions for companies. In 1987, Boeing reported that it spent $3,500 per year per employee on work-related healthcare, amounting to $350 million annually, which was more than they spent on aluminum to build airplanes. In 2000, OSHA estimated that 1 out of every $3 spent on workers' compensation claims was due to an ergonomic-related issue. They also projected direct costs of work-related musculoskeletal disorders to be between $15 and $20 billion annually. Ergonomic preventative efforts can be extremely cost-effective, especially in certain circumstances. When incidence of injury is high, when the solution of the problem is inexpensive, when the solution easily prevents the problem, and when cost of treating the injury is expensive, are great examples of when ergonomic solutions should be utilized. Ergonomic solutions should also be targeted at high-risk groups, such as yourselves. Implementing ergonomic interventions is a great way to protect workers while saving money. Ergonomic-related injuries can lead to a wide variety of health effects. Most physical symptoms manifest as musculoskeletal-related disorders, such as carpal tunnel syndrome, arthritis, Raynaud's, back strain, sciatica, tendinitis, and chronic pain, to name a few. Ergonomic-related injuries not only affect workers physically, but also psychologically. Some of these adverse effects include loss of morale, lost work time, and disability. Mood disorders, such as depression and adjustment disorder, are more prevalent among those who sustain workplace injuries than those who sustain similar non-occupational injuries. So, injured workers are at an increased risk for these disorders, and developing a mood disorder can prolong recovery time and increases healthcare and workers' compensation expenses. Depression has also been shown to increase the odds of the worker not returning to baseline levels of functionality, activities of daily living, feeling healthy, and quality of social interactions. Workplace injuries can additionally manifest into anxiety, PTSD, and other mental stress disorders. Finally, all of these factors put workers who suffer an occupational-related injury at an increased risk for substance abuse. There are many different ergonomic risk factors that put workers at an increased chance of developing a work-related injury. Lifting heavy objects repetitively or improperly can lead to muscle strain. Any repetitive motion, even small ones, can lead to muscle strain or tendinitis. Localized pressure on a particular body part, such as sitting for prolonged periods, can also cause adverse effects. Working for prolonged periods in an awkward position, such as bending to lift, reaching long distances, or poor posture while sitting or typing, can lead to fatigue and injury. Other risk factors, like exposure to extreme temperatures, vibration, or noise, can lead to deleterious health effects such as loss of sensation, hearing loss, heat stroke, or hypothermia. Finally, any combined exposure to multiple of these risk factors compounds the chance for injury. Exposure to these risk factors can manifest in various ways, but common symptoms to look out for are joint pain or swelling, muscle fatigue, numbness, tingling, and inflammation. If you experience any of these symptoms, please report them to your supervisor. Now that we've identified the risk factors for developing a work-related injury, we will discuss the different types of ergonomic interventions. Engineering controls includes changing the layout of the workstation, such as using height-adjustable benches or putting tools within closer reach. Another example of an engineering control is changing the way materials are transported, such as using mechanical assistance devices for lifting. Engineering controls are the preferred methods to prevent and control work-related musculoskeletal disorders. Administrative controls involves changing management and work practices policies. These reduce injury risk but do not eliminate hazards. Examples include reducing shift length, increasing frequency of breaks, rotating workers through jobs, and training on injury prevention like you're doing today. Personal protective equipment can protect workers against certain hazards. Examples of PPE include respirators, ear protection, safety goggles, chemical aprons, safety shoes, and hard hats. Good work practices includes preventative techniques such as proper lifting and using correct postures while working, which we will go over shortly. Localized pressure can result from sitting, standing, or prolonged use of certain tools. Some desks and computer equipment have hard, angled edges that come into contact with workers' arms and wrists. This can create contact stress, affecting nerves and blood vessels, possibly causing tingling and sore fingers. To prevent these problems, workers should use more ergonomic tools with long handles and padded grips that extend across the whole hand to minimize contact pressure. Tools should be appropriately sized and shaped with good grip. When possible, electric or power tools should be utilized. Workers who spend prolonged periods standing should wear well-fitted shoes with thick or cushioned soles. If they are working in one place, they can use a padded floor anti-fatigue mat, as shown here, to reduce stress. For workers who spend time lifting, you can use sit-stand desks that will allow your workstation to move and allow you to alternate between sitting and standing. Sharp edges on tables should be padded with rounded edges, and keyboards should be fitted with wrist rests that allow for proper posturing and decreased pressure. Hazardous lifting is defined by OSHA as any of the following: lifting more than 75 pounds once per day, lifting 55 pounds 10 times per day, or 10 pounds twice per minute for more than 2 hours. Awkward lifting is lifting 25 pounds above the shoulders, below the knees, or at arm's length more than 25 times per day. Solutions to prevent injury from lifting begin first with planning the workflow to eliminate unnecessary lifts. The distances loads need to be lifted or lowered should be minimized as much as possible, with loads being positioned close to you to avoid lifting from the floor. Forklifts should be used to move large loads instead of lifting material individually. Likewise, mechanical assist devices should be used whenever possible and practical. For loads that are heavy or unstable, you should tag it to alert others. When attempting to lift, you should first test the load for stability before attempting to carry. Containers should be packed with fewer items to reduce weight and packed to avoid shifting. Team lifting can be used for heavy or bulky items when assist devices are unavailable. When lifting, you should wear comfortable shoes with good grip and always use proper lifting techniques, even with small loads. Ensure you have a secure grip and use both hands whenever possible. Avoid jerking and use smooth motions while keeping the load close to your body. Use your legs to push up and lift the load instead of using your upper body or back. Do not twist your body, but instead step to turn. Finally, you should rotate through various jobs to reduce the amount of lifting tasks, and try to alternate lifting tasks with non-lifting tasks. Here is an illustrative example of how to pick up an oddly shaped object from the ground. Here the worker is trying to lift a sack, which should first be leaned onto the kneeling leg before being moved to the anchored leg while holding the load close to the body. After this, you should use your legs to lift yourself and the load from a squatting position while holding the load close to the body with a firm grip with both hands. Repetition in this context is defined as a high rate of the same movements for at least 2 hours at a time, or using a high repetition device such as a keyboard and mouse for more than 4 hours a day. Repetitive motions can be just as dangerous as heavy lifting due to fatigue. When you perform the same motion frequently, you can tire out your muscles, making them more prone to injury. If your muscles can't handle the load, the strain can be shifted to your joints and the discs in your spine, placing them at risk for injury too. These types of injury may not be immediately discernible while on the job. Solutions to prevent injury from repetitive motions include reordering work, spreading out repetitive tasks throughout the day, using machinery or power tools to do the task for you, taking stretching breaks while doing tasks, rotating through different kinds of jobs, and switching hands or motions as often as possible. To be considered a risk factor, awkward positions need to last more than 1 hour continuously or intermittently for several hours over the course of the work shift. Potential hazards include twisting or bending to lift, lateral bending, overextending the back, and lifting, twisting, or reaching forward to assist with moving. Awkward positioning can also include holding the body slightly outside of its natural position, such as extending the wrist to use a computer mouse. More muscular force is required when the body is put into these awkward positions, which does not allow the muscles to perform as efficiently. Fixed awkward positions, like maintaining wrist flexion for several minutes, can lead to muscle fatigue and joint soreness. Good work practice recommends avoiding awkward postures while lifting. Ways to avoid awkward positioning include educating and training employees about safer lifting and positioning techniques, using assist devices or other equipment whenever possible, team lifting, raising or tilting work for better access, and using a stool for ground level work to prevent extended squatting and kneeling. Tools with longer handles, like shown here, can also be used to prevent awkward positioning, and workers can alternate between standing, sitting, squatting, and kneeling. Using a desk and computer monitor with proper height can also prevent neck strain. Work-related injury is prevalent and can be debilitating with a variety of health effects. However, risk factors for obtaining a work-related injury can be greatly reduced by implementing ergonomic solutions, thereby preventing many injuries. You all have begun the first steps in improving ergonomics by attending this training session to help implement solutions in your workplace. The next step is to identify problems you may observe and report them to your supervisor. One of the most important ways to identify problems and to prevent injury is to immediately report any minor symptoms or sources of discomfort. The easiest way for a problem to be recognized early is to report it early. This can accelerate assessment of the problem and kickstart the improvement process, which will prevent or reduce the progression of symptoms, the development of serious injuries, and loss of work. We welcome any ideas you may have to fix the identified problems. After identifying problems and developing ergonomic solutions, we are relying on you to implement those solutions. You may need to change the way you do your job and introduce new tools into your workflow. Your cooperation will keep you safe and help make sure efforts are successful. And you may actually find your job is easier after adjusting to these changes. Finally, management will periodically assess the effectiveness of the intervention, and your input would be gladly appreciated. Here are my references for this presentation that are expanded upon in the next slide. Thank you all for your attention. I hope you have learned a great deal about ergonomics and how to identify problems so that you may have a happier and healthy workplace. Thank you.